Welcome to Defining Dad Bod, where my dad, Coach Alex Van Houten, plus his 14 years of experience to work for you. You should listen to him. Here's Pretty Beast Mode. Who knows who we could be if we could become 1% better every single day.
What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing super well. You are listening to Season 3, Episode 30 of Defining Dad Bod, called Wake Up Warrior. This episode is brought to you by the Better Daily Group. Work hard to become 1% better every single day, but don't do it alone. Join our community at betterdaily.disciplemedia.com. The link's in the show notes below. We're excited to be in your corner in 2021. That's betterdaily.disciplemedia.com. Get started today. This episode's a little different and requires some backstory. Last week, we had an awesome conversation with author and analyst David Amerland. You might recognize his name from an interview we did 10 months ago, right around when the coronavirus pandemic started. And that interview covered the democratization of fitness with a company called Derby. In over 170 episodes of the show, that conversation was my favorite conversation thus far. It could be because I love nonprofit organizations. It could also be because David's a fellow engineering nerd, and getting to talk to him brought me back to my Vandy days, when I spent several hours a night working with other engineers to solve complex problems. Whatever the reason, I knew I needed to have him come back on the show, and we had a powerful conversation. If you missed it, pause right now and go back to last week's episode, because what you're about to hear is going to make a lot more sense if you get to hear that conversation. But today I wanted to share with you some thoughts, and pepper in a little popular culture while I'm at it. I enjoyed recording it. I hope you enjoy listening. And since I intend this entire show to be food for thought, we'll go ahead and skip that segment today and get right into the good stuff. Here we go. In my recent interview with David Amerland, we got to talk about the concept of entropy as it relates to your health and fitness journey. Since we both have an engineering education, it's very possible that the nerdiness of our conversation might have overridden the human practicality. And so today we're going to spend a little more time making this more real, and that's going to require some Alex story time. Once upon a time, there was an adolescent boy who didn't have any confidence in himself. Being raised by his single mother and his grandmother, part of this could be blamed on the lack of a male role model in his household. The other part could just be plain old adolescence, when your preteen self gets flooded with a whole bunch of hormones and you don't know how to handle that while maintaining your identity. He and his friends were getting picked on at school regularly, and the bullies always seemed to have the upper hand. And all of this lack of identity and confidence really shined in the scary and confusing realm of girls. But as chance would have it, this boy on the road to manhood gets connected to an ex-martial arts guru who's on the comeback trail. And together, pupil and sensei, through mastering the confidence and movements of their own bodies, grow to manifest their best, to stand up for themselves, and to get rid of old crummy habits that aren't serving them. Pause. Before I go on, no, this isn't my story. Though my story is very related to it, it's actually the plot of a new Netflix series called Cobra Kai. I'm just finishing up Season 1, so please don't reach out and mess it up for me. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because thus far, the series does a very good job of showing how dysfunction and disorder at an individual level, a familial level, and a communal and societal level require something powerful to awaken inside of each one of us. That is, if we are going to confidently manifest our best potential. Having been the boy in the single-parent household, without a consistent father figure, who found much of his own confidence in the discipline and mastery of his own body in martial arts, weightlifting, and running, I find the story to be particularly compelling. Now, what does this have to do with David Amerland's interview and your health and fitness journey? Good question. And while normally this show has ample citations, a very detailed outline, and usually some scientific context when I come to the microphone to record, this episode's a little more off the cuff. In our interview here on Defining Dad Bod with David Amerland, we dove into a concept called entropy. Entropy is the thermodynamic quantity that describes the heat energy in the universe as being lost to disorder. In layman's terms, it's the mathematical concept that says, eventually, all living things die. Or maybe more humorously, a 2-year-old while left in a room by himself, will always make a mess. And you will have to take time and energy to clean up that mess, if you'd like a clean house. And what you're annoyed at is, quote, wasted energy. In a nutshell, that's exactly what entropy is. Energy that's been spent that you can't get back. And in our conversation, David Amerland and I explored what that has to do with your health and fitness journey. And while we made some headway on making a very difficult concept simple, I believe that part of the spirit of the Netflix series Cobra Kai has the key to making it even more simple. You see, each one of us is wrestling with entropy in our lives. Call it disorder, call it disorganization, call it wasted energy. It doesn't really matter what you call it. I promise you're wrestling with it. It could be situational, like chaos and disorder at work that you have to set right. Oftentimes I call those fires you have to put out. Hashtag managerial life. It could be familial. Maybe there's a family history or family relationships that cause friction on a regular basis. And you know deep down in your gut that although you don't know how to fix it, things could definitely be better than they are right now. Maybe the disorder and disorganization is at the physical level of your body. You're in pain regularly. Your digestive system doesn't work right. You're sleeping terribly and you're not at peace with that. Or maybe you find yourself regularly craving things that you know aren't good for you, but you can't stop eating them. Add to that some structural entropy, that is, things break down of their own accord, like necessary car maintenance repairs, trees falling down in the backyard, or a heating unit that's on the fritz. And I hope you get the idea that in your bubble of the world, one of the things that you wrestle with daily, whether you notice it or not, is entropy. Now here's the bad news. As far as we know, from a thermodynamic perspective, no matter what you do, entropy will always exist, and entropy will eventually kill you. And while David and I started our conversation with the gloomy cloud of entropy in everyone's minds, we spent some time trying to work out why it's a battle worth fighting. You see, there's something amazing and powerful about us human beings. Despite the fact that the laws of the universe are that energy will eventually be spent and all life eventually comes to an end, we human beings are both conscious of the fact and can make decisions about what we're going to do in the face of it. And what's really fascinating is we all have a sense of when we're fighting that battle to our fullest potential and when we're not. The kid in Cobra Kai doesn't know exactly what's wrong with him, but he does know that given the bullies at school and his current situation in life, that if anything's going to change, the warrior inside of him needs to wake up. And that phrase, "Wake up, warrior," is in fact one of the triggers that you can hear echoed throughout the episodes of the show, and is one I've used myself to overcome obstacles that I knew were bigger than me. About 40 minutes outside of Colorado Springs is a little place called Manitou Springs. It's a very weird place. The elevation of the little village is about 7,500 feet, and they have shirts in their gift shops that have the elevation stamped on it and says, "I swear this whole town is high." That's a double entendre, and if you walk around the little town and you see the pot circles, you'll understand the humor. I spent a lot of time in Manitou Springs while we lived in Colorado, and it wasn't for the marijuana. You see, Manitou Springs is also the home of the Manitou Incline. The Manitou Incline is a 1-mile-long hike with a 2,000-foot elevation gain at the base of Pikes Peak. Google it if you want to see a picture. It's a grueling undertaking. If you stand at the bottom of the stairs and you look all the way up the hike, you can actually see the top. And although the top looks so far away, it looks even farther away after you're 10 minutes into the hike. I discovered this hike shortly after Gabriel was born, and it crushed me the first time. Remember, you're at 7,400 feet of elevation when you start, and you end just under 10,000 feet of elevation. You definitely feel the lack of oxygen, but you also feel your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, your core, your neck, and every other muscle you can tap into while you're climbing up stairs that are as tall as your hips, non-stop, for a mile. As a father to a new baby, somebody who is wrestling to climb the corporate ladder, and figuring out my new marriage, something about the struggle up the hill brought the trigger back to me. Wake up, warrior. You see, when you're on the side of a mountain, and you're out of breath, and you feel like you're going to fall over and die, but there's literally no way out but to keep climbing, something inside of you does have to wake up. It's the part of you that doesn't quit, even when the going gets really tough. It's the part of you that can get knocked down 9 times and get up a 10th time. It's the part of you that can accept your suffering, no matter how heavy it is, and take another step anyway. What's even crazier than me coming back to this hike over and over and over again, I tried to go at least 3 times a month, was that hundreds of thousands of people did the same every month that I lived in Colorado. No matter how early you went, no matter how cold it was, whether it was raining or snowing, there was always other people on the incline, all ages and from all walks of life. Sometimes I'd see a wizened-looking old man or woman taking the stairs one step at a time, patiently making their way up the mountain, and I'd look them in the face and say, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And sometimes I'd see a particularly brave 8-year-old with an especially supportive mom or dad climbing stairs that were as tall as their chin, making their way toward the top. I even brought Gabriel with me when he was about 2. I have a video of him toddling up the stairs, and then pictures of me putting him on my shoulders and finishing the way. And when we lived there in Colorado, I even had clients and family members fly out and make it a point to tackle the incline with me while they were there. That begs the question, why would you do that to yourself? Why would you stand in front of something so much bigger than you, and with less oxygen than normal, wrestle with it for an hour or two just to get up the thing? I'm sure people have their reasons, but one of the reasons is this. In the face of disorder, disorganization, entropy, the energy spent in your life, in the face of suffering, obstacles, circumstances, maybe even a crummy hand you were dealt, something inside of you is strong enough. Wake up, warrior. Something inside of you doesn't give up. Wake up, warrior. Against all odds, something inside of you is stubborn as hell. Wake up, warrior. And when you climb something like the incline, and you stand at the top, and you watch the sunrise over the valley at the base of Pikes Peak, through the mist of your breath and the cold air, you see something other than the beautiful landscape. You see that you were right, that there is something inside of you that's strong enough, that even though our time here is short, and the obstacles to manifesting our best are huge, you're more than you thought you were, and you just proved it. I don't know what entropy you're wrestling with in your life right now, and I don't know how many times it's gotten the better of you, but if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you're still breathing, which means you're made of sterner stuff than you know. And if you can consistently prove that to yourself. In Cobra Kai, it was martial arts. For some people, it's a 3-minute exercise challenge daily. For others, it might be a full-blown workout program for 6 months. Or maybe you need to get high in Manitou Springs. I'm talking about elevation, by the way. Whatever it is you know you need to do, or whatever it is you know you need to stop doing, I hope you'll commit to that today. Find the warrior inside you. Do the hard thing. Wake up, warrior. This has been Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. Until next time, guys, kick butt, take names. The free, practical advice and conversations here remain unbought and unbiased thanks to the support of listeners just like you. If this episode's been helpful to you, please share it with somebody in your life who you know it will benefit. Then, subscribe to the podcast and leave us a raving review to tell others what value Defining Dad Bod has brought to your health and fitness journey. And finally, if you want more Defining Dad Bod, consider joining our online community. We send a lot of perks and resources your way, and I, Coach Alex, go live every month to talk through our listeners' health and fitness questions to make the practical science of this show applicable to everyday life. Everyone's welcome, and we'd love to have you. For more information about joining the Inner Circle or becoming a supporter of the Defining Dad Bod podcast, go to definingdadbod.com/inner circle. That's definingdadbod.com/inner circle.